Hey, welcome to the Hired AV Podcast. My name is Joe Way, and I am your host. And we've got a good one for you today. Return guest, one of our most famous award-winning guests back today. I'm not even going to do much of an intro. We are going to talk about events. ISE starts today. I have had an opportunity to go in person, see some AV tweeps, and I'm actually speaking at a CIO conference next week. But online events are kind of here to stay, to go, to do something. We don't know what they're doing. And so I wanted to bring Justin on the show because he's been looking into a lot of this and has a great perspective, being on that side of the planet with ISE going on today. But with no further ado, Justin, you're going to have to reintroduce yourself because you got a new gig. You're in a new place. So welcome.
Exactly.
And tell everyone.
Thanks for having me back on, Joe. I can't believe every time there's a milestone nearly being hit with your podcast episodes that you get me back on again. Or is it maybe it's just the fact that third time I'm on this show, it's just the fact when you run out of people to talk to, who can we get again? Justin.
Hey, what? Hey, he's got a microphone. He's always ready to go, right? When in doubt,
exactly.
Always ask a podcaster, right?
Exactly. But no, to talk about the new gig, I've moved university. So there's actually three major universities in Dublin, but I've moved to a university closer to home, and that wasn't just the main reason. It's this new gig lets me play with a lot more tech. Now, the title is learning technologist, but I'm still doing all the AV ends of things. Still doing. I moved to another school of nursing from University College Dublin to Dublin City University. I switched the letters around. People always call us is this the. Did you get lost one day and you forgot whether you were going to UCD or DCU? No, doing the equipment and the AV for DCU now, school of nursing, looking after their labs, and as well it's funny. One day, virtual coffee, goodbye everyone, and the next day I'm still in my same office. Yeah, this is my office, by the way, guys. Yeah, yes. The amount of times I get asked that. But the next day, just turning on my computer, and both environments are Google environments. It's when I was typing in my email address, oh wait, no, it's not UCD, it's DCU. So but it's been fun. It's been new challenges, new opportunities. The tech is fantastic out there. Getting to learn it all, the whole thought that I can control the Pantel Zoom cameras from the comfort of my home should I need to. And then it's the question mark. I think every month on the Higher Ed AV magazine, I'm giving updates of Ireland's role with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are light years ahead of the pandemic with the vaccination program. I addressed it again in June's article that we have 30% of Ireland has the first vaccination and only 13% has the second vaccination. And in fact, my sister, who's a primary school principal, told me about that. One of the primary schools in Dublin have nearly closed their doors today because they have the Indian variant inside the school. So about 3 or 4 teachers are out quarantining now because of it.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot different. We started. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, maybe about COVID-19, but our vaccination program started off good, trying to get the frontline people vaccinated, and now we're doing it by age again.
Yeah.
And then you think to yourself, well, you have all the schools open again, and now you have a new variant in. Get the teachers vaccinated. Maybe that's important too. But
Well, but that's interesting because this actually all ties in together. Not just, we're themed this month with, back to trade shows are back, et cetera, but also isn't it just about everything's got to be back, right? If you've got, like at USC, we were one of the very first to be vaccinated. Like we were at the top of the list when it started getting, regardless of age. And, United States did the same thing too, where we kind of went through age, but we were kind of considered first. And all of my team got it months ago because we touch so many different people, right? As, say, technicians, we're dealing with the faculty. We're dealing with the students. We're in the room. So we were, called out for being, well, hey, if Joe's team catches COVID and it goes between them all, first off, we can't keep the university open because now there's no one to support it. And if they catch it and they're touching all these different groups between the upper administration and some meetings to the faculty and other meetings to in class, we could be super spreaders, right? Yeah. Because of that. And so it was all taken as in, hey, we got to get these people so that we can now figure out how to get the university open quickly. And so it definitely sounds like there's a different approach going on, or a slowed approach.
It's very slow. And then we have our Taoiseach, or Prime Minister, has come out and given us a roadmap into the summer where you're talking about in a month's time, he's saying, okay, international travel with Green Pass can begin again, but, be careful about it and only necessary journeys. Yeah, but define necessary journeys. Everyone's chomping at the bit. It's June. It's the middle of the year. We've been through the hardest lockdown for at least 4 of the 6 months. We have been on a strong lockdown to the stage where people are just getting peed off and they just want to go out. Like they say, everyone's saying, oh, well, we'll allow outdoor dining and we'll allow outdoor parties. Dublin City was chaotic at the weekend. And, I listened to a great interview by a talk show disc jockey the other day, and some of the stuff I didn't agree with, but then he really struck a chord with, well, our Irish Prime Minister saying, okay, outdoor dining, and we had the parks open, but keep your distance, and outdoor activities are returning to normal again. And then Dublin City was like that, and everyone's drinking on the streets and the carnage of the clean-up afterwards. And he said, but how different is that than parents going with their kids? Like, there's been Saturdays where I've gone to the local park and it's thronged with people and it doesn't feel comfortable. That, because I know I still haven't got my vaccination, my first one, that I have to turn around with my 2 kids and go somewhere else because it's that busy, Yeah. But it's June, but like, and then you have the parents that are sitting down, having their picnic with their kids. Their kids are all running around, milling around, going into playgrounds. So how different is that than what happened in Dublin City at the weekend, where everyone's sitting down, trying to keep their different distance, but there's a lack of space in Dublin. Is it just the fact that alcohol's involved that we can go on a Well, that's the point he was making, but like it's if you give people a lack of places to go, and you still want to give them the outdoor experience, what do you do?
So, do you think that that's going to impact your ability to do return to campus come fall and stuff? I mean, is it kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing? Do you
know what? If you've been following the Irish news, we got ransomware attacked. Our health system got ransomware attacked for $12 million. It was dollars, I think it was, or euro. I'm not too sure, but 12 million either way. And so it brought down the health system with regards to only necessary bookings were doing. Now, they were still doing the vaccination plan, but with our COVID case numbers, they were able to tell how many cases per day. Now, part of me goes, is that a bit of an estimate? But how many was in ICU and hospitals and whatever? But they weren't able to say how many had died per day with COVID. Now, and then we have the Indian variant going on as well in the south of Ireland. I fear that it could absolutely peak again, and we go into a strong lockdown again. Now, the Prime Minister Irish Prime Minister or Taoiseach has turned around and given a hopeful optimism that everyone's going to have their first shot by September, so the universities will be open again. Now, it's still questionable of how many universities actually want to do that or get students back in. Like mixed vibes. Like, I'm hearing faculty dying, chomping at the bit to want to get back to normal program. And then I think it's going to be a blended approach. It's going to be restricted numbers still, at least for the first term. I don't see it going back to full capacity in September. Whereas listening to you guys, it sounds like you're already there. Most universities are back to full capacity.
Yeah, I think we're ready. We're ready to start rolling. So, and I think that it's interesting to hear that some universities are already been back. Like, we're coming back in the fall, but some have already been there. And they created their bubble and done it successfully. So that's encouraging. It's really interesting to hear this kind of dichotomy between, with this big old pond in the middle between us, of how different each country is. And, even we see it here between our states have been very different, but overall we're going in the right direction. So kind of going now to the theme of this, of back in person, sounds like you're more delayed, but you've been looking into, and this is great, And I'm going to tease the article because I don't want to give away your points. I want people to go read it. So online conferences, talk a little bit about, you're trying to put one together because you're going to need this. Talk about what that's like and kind of what's the process been. And what do you think, what is this going to look like going forward? Are we stuck this way? Are you having to do it just because you're not going to be in person? And you've got some great points as to, I'll tease this as in before we hit record, you're like, when you trying to put this together, people think you're a big old Microsoft or you're a big old Amazon and you have billions of dollars to run a little meeting. So talk about the process you've been going through for this.
It's good that ISE is also going on today. I think we mentioned that earlier. That if we were at a physical ISE and we had been vaccinated or whatever, I could guarantee that you could have one exhibition hall just talking about virtual event software, because yes, I firmly believe that this hybrid approach is here to stay. People are going, oh no, like a lot of these companies will probably fold after we're all being vaccinated and what. No, I don't believe that. Like, let's take it on another level. Like, how many of these universities now, and even private companies, will keep the likes of Zoom and Microsoft Teams running, knowing that people want to have this approach that they can work from home and they can tap into a meeting. Okay, that approach will also keep the fact that, let's be honest, our budgetary cuts, will be slashed to bits when we are back in for at least 2 or 3 years. So the blended meetings or the blended events are here to stay for that reason too, and I think it's numbers for live events are going to continue to be down. I see it's been interesting tapping into it throughout the day. I'm not overly impressed. There's no virtual lounge where you can chat with people or even meet people. So, I've been testing a lot because we have events that would be taking place in September. So, and with that in mind, September, October, and first term, we need to get the advertising and the marketing out now. Now, we're not talking thousands of people, Joe, but we, even a couple of hundred people to some of these events that would usually attend in person across Europe. So yes, we are Zoom house, but the problem with Zoom, and I love Zoom, I find it the most secure platform and also the most stable platform to use. But you still can't do breakout rooms in Zoom webinar. It's restricted to the fact that you can't do breakout rooms. It is pretty much your front main stage, and that's it when attendees are coming. That and you have to integrate the likes of Eventbrite into it if you were doing a ticketing system. Yes, there's talks of Zoom doing Zoom on Air and Zoom live events platform, but it's in beta stage and there's no release date. And in fact, like nearly every day I'm going onto the Zoom website to try and find out when is breakout rooms coming into Zoom. And the problem is, Joe, like even a small event, I've been asked this question several times. Maybe it's an hour-long event. It's like, oh, and then we want to have like a virtual coffee area and have the attendees discuss and it's like, oh, well, you can't do that. It's like, oh, right. So with that in mind, we just started looking at what alternatives we can do. So we wanted to find a platform that was a one-stop shop where we can have a website, have a landing page, be able to do parallel sessions, be able to have a breakout room, and be able to have breakout rooms that you can lock because we are a school of nursing. There's sensitive information that could be shared during a breakout session. Some other questions we got asked was, okay, because it's a European event, can we change the languages in Zoom? And, with that, I actually found out that Zoom is able to do that. I wasn't aware that you can actually turn on that feature and have channel banks where you can go English and Spanish. That's a new toy for me to play with at a later stage. But just started looking around. But coming back to one of the biggest problems is each one of these companies offered different solutions, but in a tiered approach. It's like walking around ISE before COVID, and it's like, no, just give me a price, a ballpark figure, and like, oh well, if you add this on and you add that on, and you want to have documents that you can share with your attendees. Oh well, that's going to cost you extra. I was like, no, but like,
yep, yeah.
I don't know about you, Joe, but like I have in my role. We have to turn around to our finance department and go, that's going to cost €10,000. And top figure. It's like, we can't turn around to finance and just go, that's going to cost 10 grand to start with. And then if we go over the amount of numbers of attendees, it's going to cost us an extra $5 per head over 2 days. And the finance team are going to go, so how much is this going to cost you? Just
give me a number. Yeah, and you can't. Yeah, and that's the hard part. I remember looking into all of that for HEPMA and going, and it's so funny because on their websites, they're all like, free this and this and this, or, only $999, right?
Don't get me started on that because, like, you get the free version and it's like, you contact the company for the live event software company. Or virtual event software company, and say, can we demo this? And they go, oh yeah, sure. And it's like, okay, you can demo it for 2 days. It's like, yeah, but 2 days will not let me test and burn it and go, what? Can you give it to me for 2 weeks? Oh no, can't do that. Oh, well, we can do that. And then you start testing it and then just realize, but there's no virtual lounge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, well, when you buy it, we'll turn on the virtual lounge. But that doesn't give me the opportunity to test it. Yeah. I need the full platform to test. And I understand where they're coming from. They probably think like, oh, well, Justin can go off and run his event and go, thanks very much. I got it for free. But, yes, it's been a difficult way of learning to test because because of COVID, we can't meet up with these salespeople or whatever. So they're trying to show you a virtual event software with another virtual event software. So, for example, we were in a Zoom call trying to learn about another virtual event software, and then when I was testing with my colleague from DCU, we found that like we were actually confusing ourselves because we're in a virtual call. Oh, shit, no, you're the speaker and you can't be seen. Oh, wait, you can't be seen because we're still in the Zoom call because my camera was being held down. So eventually, we just narrowed it down to one provider that we were interested, or two providers that we were interested in. We met up on campus. We wore masks for the day, and we tested it out with 4 different computers in front of us between who's the host, who's the speaker, who's the attendee, and what each one could physically see. But there was no platform that we had that did every single one of the bells and whistles that we wanted. Some integrated Zoom into it. Some had, but I actually attended an educational technology event where they were using one of these platforms, and they brought Zoom into the platform. So I paid my fee to attend the conference over 2 days. But then when the events were taking place, it's like, oh, do you want to join it? It's a Zoom link. It then took me out of the event software into Zoom, where there was a Zoom meeting taking place, where I could just literally copy the event URL. And I was thinking, well, hold on a minute, then anyone could just share this link and have attended the event free of charge. So there was, and this is where, as you know yourself, Joe, when you're buying a piece of software, this is where the testing comes into place. And like, look, it wasn't even the malice of the fact that I could have shared that link with someone else. When we are like the likes of the School of Nursing, where we could be dealing with sensitive information during a conference, we want to be able to keep track of who's in the event room. And there's an example of how a webinar link could be shared very easily. Now, they had their own WebRTC platform that you could use for doing your live discussions. But again, that was an extra charge. So there was no times where there was just a one basic pricing structure, pricing tier. All these type of things had additional extras. And I don't think it's even the fact that it would be frustrating for the likes of us in higher ed, just going to give us the simple pricing structure. I'm sure that would annoy companies where they, going back to private companies, going back to their finance department, going, okay, this is going to cost 10,000, but it could cost 15,000, or it could cost 20,000. It's like, yeah, well, hold on, what is it?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is like, because they tier it, and then you go, because you're hoping for a good conference too, right? Like we did that with Hepman. Like, okay, well, how many? We can maybe squeeze this under 500, but what happens once we get 600? What happens? Like then you have to like place it, and you can't budget it. And also, I wonder, like, if we, let's kind of turn to ISE. We've been watching, and they've, ISE's been interesting in that I like how they've created the stage, and then they have integrated the Zoom call-in people with the people live on the stage. And I think that was a really good way of doing this. And I think we might see a lot of that going forward. But what's going to be hard is these virtual event platforms now need to figure out, when you get a Zoom or whatever, and these, look how many free upgrade features we've gotten from Zoom. And I put free in air quotes, considering we're all paying for our accounts. But all they have to do is keep adding features to stay on top, and all these other companies get knocked out, because who's going to go pay a ton of money just so that you can have a ticketing window, right? I mean, like that doesn't become worth it. But then with ISE now, as we're watching this, it's a unique way of looking at it, because it's going to tie you in together. You have the people who are there. You have the people who can watch virtually. You have the attendees coming in virtually, and the hosts or whatever, the session speakers. And I thought that's unique. Do you think that is a formula for success in the future, or is it just what needs to happen at ISE right now? So in next year, are we going to be like, okay, we don't need any of that because all 60, 100,000 of us are going to just pile into Barcelona? What are your thoughts?
I would like to see it stay, but if it's done right. And the problem is, it's still, in my view, not being done right. Hello, we are the Audiovisual Association globally. We're all members of the audiovisual, but like we represent audiovisual globally, right? Mm-hmm. So we have Infocom and we have ISE. Okay, right? As professional AV and all these manufacturers that are professional AV manufacturers, right? we shouldn't be looking at the fact of what we're doing right now, where it's like, okay, well, you can watch the video on demand. Yeah, well, it's a video. You could stick that video up on the company's website and go, yeah, look at us. That's our new product range, right? There's no. We've both been to ISE and or I'm sure the same goes on at Infocom, where in the past there has been booths that's showing off video conferencing hardware and software, and they have their cameras, or they have, it's before the likes of the D10 devices where everything's integrated into one monitor, but they might have like little huddle spaces, and they've dialed in one of their colleagues from Germany, right? But with the amount of technology that's available out there now, why isn't there like pan-tilt zoom cameras being set up in every corner of each one of these exhibitor halls, where you can see the live people walking up and down the corridors, right? Where you could actually physically maybe switch cameras to each hall to see that environment, where each one of these booths has the ability to go, right, this is our live booth right here. And, when you walk around Infocom or ISE, you have some companies going, this is how we'll get people into our booth. We will give them the tech tour of all the major booths around all the exhibitor halls, and you have to book into it. But what if find an exhibition place that has good internet connectivity. It does exist. I know, like, one time Chuck pulled up a graphic which showed all the hotspots of the network connections at ISE before COVID, and like it's just a big red blob. But why can't we have that? These exhibition halls have a good internet connection, right? Where you have someone with a portable camera walking along with someone doing a tech tour, showing the booth. It's taken the whole approach of being a glorified website, a lot of these virtual event softwares.
Yeah. Because
all you're doing is clicking on a video and watching it. And because it's on demand, it's not even live, so we can't even ask questions to the manufacturer. You know, or people are typing on the side in the chat box going, oh, that's a nice product. Yeah, I agree. You know, it's like that doesn't, like, if I have a question about the product, you know, I would love, like, in a hybrid environment, right? You talked about having the main stage and people are being brought in on a Zoom call, and there's a bit of a monitor screen on the side, and it's given that approach to communications. But what if in the future at ISE and Infocom and places like that there was someone at a booth and that had dialed you into a virtual call, and you could say, no, hold on a minute, hold up that keyboard for a minute, or hold up that device and let's see the ports on the back of it. Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, can you run me through like what all these ports are doing? Oh, okay, so I can take in 4 inputs and 4 outputs for cameras or whatever piece of software, or if it's a DSP, okay, like let's see your new DSP range. No one's doing that. You know, like, you know, if I want to find out about, like, for a lot of these virtual events that's happened in the past year and a half, that a lot of them are saying, oh, well, just go onto our website. It's like, well, then why did I come to this virtual event? You know, talk to me about the new products.
Bingo.
You can sense the frustration that's coming through on us. You know, people are not thinking outside the box at the moment with regards to these virtuals. They're doing these virtual events to survive. Oh, that's grand. Yeah, well, we'd be out of COVID in a couple of months' time, and we'd end back going to the real events again. But should that mean that to be able to physically hold or be able to demo something, you have to attend these events in person? Everyone's budget is going to be slashed, you know? And if it's done right, I think a lot of managerial teams are going to go, well, hold on then, Joe, you know, you want to go to Barcelona next year for ISE. Well, hold on a minute. There's a virtual environment. Can you not see what you want to see in the virtual environment?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
and
like,
that's the tough one though. Like, so you came right back around to it. Do we do trade shows and events for information or for connection?
both. Yeah,
right.
And yeah.
And so now, like you were saying, these other platforms don't have the virtual lounge, or the virtual lounge is pretty lame. Let's just be honest. It's just a chat room that none of us really want to be in. So, because I've always said, and back to my article for this month is we're in the people business. Like, I don't need to go somewhere to see technology. When I'm at a university, I can get, and we all can get, the new stuff sent to us. Or if I want to see a demo, I don't need to watch the marketing video that's posted online. I can reach out to my rep, schedule a half hour, an hour, and they'll actually walk it through with me, answer my questions and all that. I can't even get that at ISC or Infocom. I can't even get my questions answered because they're just there to do mass. Here, look at this. Here's the bright lights. That's for after, right? I'm there to meet people, make connections. Yeah, maybe see the roadmap. Maybe go, okay, well, that's a nice looking projector. Oh yeah, this is a good control system. I see what you're doing, but it's just the highlight, right? It's not the information. It's not the questions. It's not the real environment. And so
but we do miss that on physical basis, where it's not just even the physical networking. I could bump into you at Infocom and you go, hold on, did you go over to Question's new booth? They have new DSP processors or something. Or it's like, oh yeah, that solution that you were trying to find the answer to, why don't you have a look at such and such a booth? Yeah, the physical thing is there. But like, what's to say that we can't do the hybrid approach at a better scale? We're missing a step here along the path where if I was one of these exhibitors at ISE or whatever, I would want the fact that my booth has a live camera on the booth and maybe a couple of portable live cameras where I can walk around the booth and go, here, look, this is what new equipment we have. I didn't want a video. A video I can, we're audiovisual people. We can get a video produced in a matter of a day and stick it up on our website ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, oh, well, the virtual footfall through this website is going to be huge. You know what? I think from a lot of people I've been talking to, they're tapping in and tapping out going, okay. Yeah. And it's a website. We don't want to look at videos. It's a funny thing that, from a learning perspective, of creating course content for students. We even say, let's not kill them by death by PowerPoint. Let's not kill them by death by text. Mm-hmm. So then we start doing the likes of everyone loves the word now, podcasts. Podcasts are grown through this pandemic, and then video has just become a novelty, so eventually people are going to start saying, I don't want to even go onto a website and look at video because it feels like I'm just looking at TV. That has to be that interactive feel to some of these virtual events. Yeah, the virtual lounge, it's pretty bland now at this stage for networking. But to be able to ask questions to the exhibitors, I don't find that in the current ISE digital. If we're watching video, great. What do you have to do afterwards if you want to ask a question? Go off to their website, send an email, and then we can demo it. No, that's poor. I think people are missing the step, and for something that's supposed to be representing the global AV body, I think they missed a step with the digital.
I think that the tough part is the timing, and you can't hold against, and that's why I think that Infocom is really positioned well. I think it's, Florida, end of October. I think it's going to be great. ISE, everyone knows, I was going to go out to ISE. I had my tickets booked to go. And I was going to go to Barcelona, be there this week. But the problem is once the other two got canceled with Amsterdam and Germany, I thought, okay, well, wait a minute. If these are being canceled, I only have a window to get my money back because I can't keep this ticket if all of a sudden Barcelona cancels or they move it online or London. So I ended up just canceling the trip because I was a little unsure. And I think, if you're unsure to be able to get there, but I think that, then of course, what exhibitors can you get and all that. But I don't know that that's, to me, the problem, right? That's not ISE's fault, right? I mean, like, a global pandemic is nobody's fault, right?
I'd like to change the whole feeling of what will be the future AV exhibitions. The couple of things that I'm sure you'll agree with me with, what do we love about Infocom and ISE is the fact that you're walking around booths, you're seeing tech, you're picking up swag. One of these exhibition booths might offer you some food. They might offer you a drink while you're looking through it. Even after COVID, is that all going to change? Is it going to be like, okay, wipe down the device, wear some gloves maybe, or wipe down the devices every time we touch it, and we're not going to give you out any swag bag, or you can't stand at the booth for longer than 10 or 15 minutes, or even have a drink. If that's the way the conferences are going to be physically in the future for the next 2 or 3 years, I'm not even interested in going.
Yeah, I don't know that it'll be. Hopefully, I mean, this is I think where the difference is between our two continents, too. Because I can't wait. As everyone was jealous seeing the pictures of me and Mark and Brandy and everybody and Tammy all online.
Because you were sitting down and you were having a nice meal and you were able to tech again.
We all pulled in, and it was so funny because there weren't a ton of people at Cablo, but it was still a couple of hundred, right? And we had, great companies made it out. Shure, QSC, Rankis Hines, right? Aurora. I mean, everybody made it out. So it was a good, the display manufacturers, small, but maybe that was the step that we needed. But I can tell you, it was fist bump, bro hug, sister hug. Let's go have a meal. Let's sit down. We've missed this. We need this, right? And that, to me, is the thing, is we are a human connection industry, and I know that I've missed human connections. I've missed it with our vertical, and with, and it was great seeing, Frank from UNLV coming out, and, Evan Jimmy from my team, went out there, and it was just like, relax. We're having our food, our meal. We're breaking bread together.
You can understand how, like, the likes of Avixa and Cedia doing events like Infocom and ISE, that they have to adhere to the restraints of safety and whatever. But I've talked to a lot of the AV Brits talking about ISE London at the end of this month, and a lot of people are going, no, I'm not. Like, living in England, going, well, I'm not really bothered going to that, because there's not enough halls, there's not enough exhibitors. Some talk about the safety aspects of going, and then others that are what usually exhibitors, like saying, oh well, we're going to have a party nearby in this venue. You're welcome to come along and have drinks. So, with that in mind, like, people are, it's trying to find that balance where, like, exhibitors that might have usually attended ISE and exhibited might just go, well, hold on a minute, can I rent a room close by and invite people at the same time? That's competition, but that's the way things, if it works cheaper out for them. I'm sure a lot of these exhibitors for ISE and probably going forward for Infocom are thinking, well, what type of virtual platform are they giving us? And the virtual physical platform, or could we do it ourselves? Like, there's enough out there. There's enough software and hardware out there to do that ourselves. They have to weigh it up, especially in the virtual environments. Like, I could put a video up on ISE, or I could put a video up on my own website. This, I'm sure they have to be thinking, it's a tight world with regards to finances now. Do they want to spend the money on putting a video up on ISE, or do they want to put it on their website?
Yeah, I think the tough part is you still have to go where the people go, right? I mean, if you're a company, especially, take the Trons out of the game, take the big display manufacturers and audio, manufacturers out of the game. It's the small ones that forget. Like, if I need to see what Crestron's doing, I just go to Crestron website, I text my rep and go, hey, okay, what's going on? But a lot of times at ISE and Infocom, it's the little company on the back wall where you go, they're the ones who have to be there, right? Because that's the only exposure they're going to get.
How many times, Joe, have you been walking around halls in ISE or Infocom and you have something in your head going, oh, I better get over to that booth, or else, like, while I'm in booth 11 or hall 11, and then you just stop in your tracks and what is that? Yeah, and, it could be the simple, like, this is going to be a cable tidy that you just go, whoa, this could change everything in my university, and they, something that's just been brought into the market, usually an aging company and they want you to buy like 50,000 units. It's like, no, I just want to buy one to show, show up to.
Well, it's so funny because I tell this story is a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I'm walking through Infocom and some guy grabs my shirt and like yanks me into his booth. And I'm like, and it was Snap AV, and they had this tiny little booth. And all they were showing was their little network switches and their watt box things, network controlled power. So we could. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. And I ended up buying a few. I mean, the guy was just, hey, here, let me show you this. Who are you with? And then they're just pushing their thing. And I wouldn't have known to look at it. And then the funny thing is, you fast forward now 4 years, and since then, Snap AV has bought Control 4. They bought Access Networks. It's like, what the heck, man? And this was crazy. And it all started because, someone's at a small booth saying, hey, we got 1 or 2 products, and we're going to show up, and these products are great, and I want you to get one, and we're going to get one in your hand. That would have never happened. I would have never gone to a random website like that. To then, something that now I put everywhere when I can, you know?
Or my example of that is AV plates, where it's just like people that can create the plastic covering to have whatever design you want. You just send them the design. You can go onto it. And like it's people thinking outside the box and filling a need that small little companies like that become board over and huge.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things that we can't overlook with our conferences coming back is those opportunities. And it's really, it's easy to say to go to website or, where should we put our money? But we have to remember it is where we have an industry that's defined by 2 events. We are defined by ISE. We are defined by Infocom.
Well, do you know what also upset me about this digital ISE? Like, I could not find anywhere that had a bit of training where you could get some renewal units.
See, yeah, I think that's changed. See, I don't know that, and that's interesting because I know that Infocom will be doing the training. It's funny that you point that out because you're right, there isn't much. But I wonder if this is also where the pandemic changed things. You've seen the manufacturers start holding their own virtual trainings, whether it be actually, Crestron Masters is now fully online, right? You don't need to now show up at a trade show to get training. You don't need to. You don't even need to go to the manufacturer's headquarters anymore to get their training and their certification. So I'm wondering how much of that will adapt and change our industry, and kind of going forward with it. All I know is I'm looking forward to having a beer with you at some point in person, and no longer just having to to make it calls like this to connect. Don't want these calls to go away. But we need to add that extra component to it, don't we?
Yeah, like you still have to do your anniversary trip to Ireland. So, and we talked about this off mic, and unfortunately, like I've been telling Joe to hold off because, we can travel the country of Ireland, but like you wouldn't enjoy it because things are still slowly opening back up. Our wet pubs are not open yet. We still have outdoor dining. The indoor dining hasn't opened up still. I'd be definitely, if you had tickets booked for next month, I'd be saying, get your money back. You're not going to enjoy it the way you want to.
You are. So, and that was so funny because you were, when you were on the show a little over a year ago, that the time you were on, and that was when we had our trip booked for November, and I think you were on around May or June, right? And said, am I going to be able to get out there? And I think we said it was like a 50-50. And look at that. And now we're saying it might still be 50-50 for me to go this November.
I'm just scared of this Indian variant. You would hope that our government is looking at it closely and going, right. But it's even to the stage, Joe, that the Johnson & Johnson vaccination is the amount of vaccinations we were promised is apparently half, if not a third, of what's going to be delivered into Ireland in the next couple of months. So that holds everything up. Yeah. I know people that are in the age group of 40 to 49. That's what they've started on Monday, and they still haven't got their confirmation email from our health. There's only so much we can blame on the ransomware attack or the fact of, guys, get your fingers out and get these vaccinations into the country. And our nearest neighbour, England, is light years ahead on the vaccination programme. And then because of that, you have Northern Ireland that is nearly fully opened up, and people in the summertime are going to just travel across the border. We're allowed to travel. We're in the same country. It's just Northern Ireland is part of England, so, and they have it. They're starting to do things differently, and because it's a different healthcare system up the north of Ireland, most of Northern Ireland is vaccinated. And this is just destroying, I don't know. I'm a bit pessimistic on the fact of people saying that, okay, everything's going to be returning to normal by September, October. No, I don't think so. I think that it's very optimistic.
Yeah, no, that's a bummer. But at some point, we're going to get out there. So as we kind of close up, this is fantastic because I think that this is an opportunity for us. Again, we're talking about getting back in person. We know that it can happen, but there's still a lot to focus on. There's still a lot we have to do with the pandemic. We can't pretend it's not here. We can't pretend that we're back to normal, even though we're getting there. And getting in person. We can't pretend none of this happened. So to close up, I just want to give you a soapbox. Take 1 minute and give me just your, unadulterated opinion on, how do we do this going forward? How should our conferences look? How should both in person and virtual? And give me your closing thoughts on that.
My closing thought is that why invent a virtual environment if we're not going to keep on using it in the future? There's too many companies that's invested into this idea that I see a lot of the great thing about one virtual event software that we're using at the moment, Zoom, is that they do have hardware on the ground as well. So they have the D10s or whatever. What if some other company buys into virtual event software and, like I was talking about, says, okay, we can do it physically where we can walk around with a camera and show things and do that hybrid approach. And I think if a couple of live conferences do this hybrid approach where you are able to bring people in. Look, we've all looked at the types of X Factors and Americans Got Talent and stuff where there's no crowd or audience, but they're able to interact with the audience through the likes of Zoom. Why can't that be done at conferences? That's my thought. We're missing a step, guys. We need to start physically doing this. I
love that.
And swag. We can also do virtual swag. We can also send out swag later. The LTSMG did a full swag box last year at LTSMG at Home, where they sent out things as a box for all the attendees, and we had a couple of toys as well. We're missing steps here, and I think, again, with ISE, I think you mentioned about training, but I think that if ICSA and CDR want people to sign up to membership to their professional bodies, they should be selling the training opportunities, and that's not very much highlighted at ISE Digital this year. They missed a step.
Yeah. I love that. I love those thoughts. Those are great closing thoughts, and great for pointing out LTSMG, because that was really neat how they were able to make a personal connection to the virtual audience by sending swag ahead of time. So you could feel like you were part of it. They got the social media, with a little the mask thingies or whatever that got sent with it, and just get you put into the environment together. And I thought that was fantastic. And that's something we probably shouldn't forget. And I think we can all learn from, this is a new thing. We're still trying to figure all this out. I'm excited about our future. I like the fact that we're looking down the barrel. We're on the way down the hill. We're getting back to where we can feel there's some normalcy. So we'll see where this goes. So in closing, just tell everyone how they can get a hold of you, your podcast, and all that good stuff. Besides, of course, the Across the Pond article on Hired AV.
Yes, please do read the article. I put a lot of thought into the article this month, talking about live events and virtual events, and some of the points that I even brought up in this show. If you want to get in contact with me, you can visit my website, www.justinordawson.com. I'm on Twitter at JustinOrDawson. I've started taking to Instagram as well, because I got a drone lately, so I'm doing some drone footage in my spare time, putting some photos up of things I like as I go around. Yeah, I've entered the world of Instagram, so I'm on most of the social media networks now. But find me all on JustinOrDawson.com, and that also goes to my All Things Techie podcast, where we're slowly but surely going to get to episode 50, and I'm just after finishing a project management course. One of the projects I have in mind is to do up the All Things Techie website, but when I get time, I think I need to spend some time with family again. I've been studying too much in the past couple of months.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that, and thank you. Yes, make sure, everyone, you follow Justin, connect with him on all the various socials, and make sure you do read this month's article. Wanted him on here because it is a fantastic article. It's very poignant, because we have to remember, just getting back in person is not necessarily, it is what we want, but it's not necessarily what we all can do. We have a lot to think about. The pandemic is still serious. It's something that I still get to say to Justin that I told you so. Because I did say the I told you so here. But everyone, again, do like, share, tell 100 of your closest friends about this, and again, like always, all the opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of the institutions that we represent or the sponsors of this show. And if you didn't like these opinions, there might be better ones next time.